Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to a special mini episode of the Daily Ipswich, brought to you by the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Rob Binns and I'm joined today by James Bennett. It's the first time we've shared an episode together for a while, James. Nice to see you again.
It is, mate. Yeah. How you doing, mate? You good?
Well, I've been better, James, and that is why, because we are recording this approximately, 10, 15 minutes after Town have exited the Carabao Cup in the second round at the first attempt. For us, it's a 4-2 defeat on penalties to League Two AFC Wimbledon. And so, to be honest with you, it's not the podcast me and James are expecting to be filming tonight with this game going ahead. But
not at all.
It's a situation we've been put in front of us. But yeah, so obviously the preview episode went out this morning with yourself and Tom. Did you ever think when you were sat down filming that you'd be jumping on tonight saying that we've fallen at the first hurdle in the cup?
No, not at all, to be honest. So yeah, I remember actually talking with Tom and saying that, Wimbledon will know what we're like a bit anyway, because obviously it wasn't too long ago that we were playing them anyway. So it was always going to be a little bit of a test for our first game in the Carabao. But still, at the end of the episode, we both confidently said, 3-0 Ipswich. Can't see anything else happening. But yeah, it's not gone that way. I don't think we played, I wouldn't say we played awfully. Because if you look at the stats, and I know stats obviously don't mean everything, but I think we've had 20 plus shots in the game, or at least close to 20. Fair enough, a lot of them haven't threatened, but we're still obviously attacking a lot. Wimbledon did literally have 2 shots, so it can be a little bit tough to take when it's a result like that.
Yeah, I think it's a worrying. It's very similar to how we were knocked out of the FA Cup last season, having 20 plus shots, and the opposition having 2, and losing 2-1 in 90 minutes that time, but drawing 2-2 and losing on penalties this time. It's a bit of a worrying trend that we've experienced in cups in recent seasons, but obviously it's extremely disappointing. There's no way of getting around it, really. We all sat here on the podcast, probably I think it was before the season started, we all sat down and went, what about the cups? What do we want? We all said we want at least one cup run. We haven't had one for years. It'd be nice to go far, and probably the Carabao would be the right one to go with that, because the big teams don't take it as seriously and there's more opportunity there.
Yeah.
And like I say, we've put a strong lineup out that shows we look like we were going to take it seriously. And we've come away, we've failed to beat a League Two side in 90 minutes, and then 2 shocking penalties later, we're seeing ourselves our cup run over for the year, and now we're already looking to January for the FA Cup. We want a bit of cup success, which is very disappointing to see. It's disappointing as well the way the 2 goals came about, I thought, as well, to concede from 2 set pieces. Like I say, Wimbledon having 2 shots, a couple of cheap fouls, balls in the box. No, poor, the zone. It looked like it was attempted zonal marking, which ended up with a player being free on both occasions, and they do the job and nod it home. It's 2 really poor goals to concede, and I highly assume that Kieran McKenna is incredibly disappointed with that. The manner of conceding the goals the way we did.
Exactly that, because like we've said, 2 shots all of this, but the way that we have conceded them, they seemed far too easy. And even they had a goal disallowed as well. I think it might have been given for offside, but I'm not entirely sure because I couldn't see anything else that was wrong with it, to be honest. So I think we got away with that one as well. But I just think he definitely needs to look at set pieces then, because if we're doing that against a League Two side, and like you said then, Rob, we did actually have a good side out as well. It wasn't like he put a weak side out. We were taking this cup seriously, so we could maybe finally have a cup run, and that was good to see. Yeah, it's all come up in flames pretty quick, really.
Yeah, so we're almost sort of both a bit lost for words. Like I say, we jumped on as soon as we could after the full-time whistle, and neither of us really know what to say, because we just didn't see that coming. And you said the overall performance wasn't terrible. It's just serious lack of cutting edge. The only reason we got to penalty shootout in the first place is because the keeper's made a big mistake and Chapman's punished him for it. We were sort of, like I say, 3 or 4 minutes away from losing in 90 minutes, which would have been unbelievable given how the bulk of the game played out. But it's just a big hit to the confidence. Obviously, we kept saying how the first opening games of the Premier League were sort of free hits. We're not bothered about them. This would have been a great way to build confidence up ahead of that into that Fulham game, and then what we do have now have some of those fixtures you want to try and take some points from early doors to now be going into that Fulham game. Obviously, you take the opponents into context, but at the end of the day, 0 points in the Premier League, a winnable game at home coming up, and it's the complete opposite of what you want to then be knocked out of the cup by a League Two side in a week with a fairly poor performance.
Exactly that, mate. Exactly that. It's just, this could have been the step, but we can speak a little bit more about that after this little break, can't we? We'll have this little break coming out from Zencastr, and then we'll be right back with you.
Do you have a story to tell that the world needs to hear? Have you struggled with reaching new audiences who are engaged with your story? It might be time for you to start a podcast. Now let me tell you about a platform we use here at the Global Sports Podcast Network. Zencastr makes it easy to start a high-quality podcast built for growth from day one. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes ums, ahs, your nose, and 22 other speech patterns, Zencastr makes it super easy to start a podcast that sounds great. Ready to tell your story? Check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr. Right then, let's get straight back into it then. Reflect on this game. Something we do want to bring up here. Obviously, we mentioned the lineup. There was, I think, 5 or 6 debutants in the squad tonight. Do you think that was a factor, really, that they haven't stepped out for the club in a competitive sense before?
I think so. You could kind of tell because obviously we are a team who, when we are playing good football and we are going full force, we look great on the ball and we play some good stuff. There were times, not to say that we weren't all over Wimbledon most of the game, because we were, but at times we didn't look like we had that normal sort of cohesion that we're used to seeing. And I think that is because we had, obviously Phillips was playing his first game for a while, really, anyway, so to come back in, he looked okay. Clark looked good, to be fair, when he was on the ball. There was just a lack of cohesion, like I say, not a togetherness, I think, enough tonight, which will definitely come as the season goes along. We're all hoping, of course. But I think tonight, it just didn't quite go for us. Yeah,
like I say, I suppose if we are looking to put it down to something, like I say, it did look like a group of 11 players that haven't played together before a lot of the time, and that is the case. Like I say, just confirm it was 6 debuts tonight. Connor Townsend, Dara O'Shea, Calvin Phillips, Jens Kajust, Jack Clark, and Bennett. So, I say, and then you've also got Al Hamadi who hasn't started a game for months with his injury. He had no pre-season as well. He got himself a goal early doors, which was nice to see. One of the sort of few positives to take away from the game, really. But it's really underwhelming. It's the easiest way to put it, really, isn't it? Though?
Yeah, definitely. But I think you're obviously talking about some positives that we could maybe get out of the game. I know we just talked about sort of briefly the 6 debutants, but when Delap and Hutchinson came on, obviously Delap's very new to the club. I know Hutchinson was there last year anyway. But when them 2 came on, they which is a very positive thing to see, they did look really good and they did change the game a bit, especially Hutchinson getting on the ball again. It was, if he'd have started, it could have been a different game. But Delap again looked good coming on. O'Shea looked good as well at the back at times. Obviously, conceding 2 goals, it doesn't bode too well. But Townsend, you mentioned then as well. If anything, God forbid, was to happen to Davis, he got injured or suspended or anything like that, he looks like he could do a job to replace him. So I think we're in good hands for the season, it looks anyway.
Yeah, I suppose we've got to take some sort of positive spin on it, don't we? We can't just sit and be all doom and gloom. Yeah. But obviously, just mention the penalties. Obviously, we've sort of touched on both the goals. So it was nice to see Al Hamadi on the score sheet and say Chapman done well to make the most of the mistake. We get ourselves into that penalty shootout. You just kind of still thought at that point, obviously penalties are a lottery, but you think we'd have the quality to sort of get the job done. And then for, say, the Wimbledon captain stepped up, missed, and then we have Taylor stepping up to an opportunity to put us 3-2 up after 3 penalties, and we go and miss 2 in a row and don't even take a fifth.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So,
I mean, if I was to put out of them 5, well, I'll say the 5, out of the 4 that stepped up for us, I would have probably said, if anyone was to miss, and you'd say it usually because it is a defender, Burgess, excuse me, that's who I would have said. And I would have absolutely put my house on Taylor nailing that, absolutely top binning it. Excuse me again. But did you? Yeah, you've seen the penalties as well, didn't you? Just his run up. As soon as he ran up and then stopped, horrible. I hate that. Horrible to see. I just thought, he's missed that. Yeah, awful penalty.
So 2 poor penalties, really. It's like if you put them in the corner, if they're decent strikes and the keeper makes a good save, you sort of have to hold your hands up and say, keeper was the hero that day. But we've hardly made him work with them 2 penalties. It's sort of like, say, to come straight off the back of smashing one into Rose Ed as well to give us a chance to take the lead, having 2 reliable takers, you'd assume, stepping up. It's a horrible way to go out anyway in penalties, but how I've watched that game tonight. Yeah, we weren't great a lot of the time, but how I've watched that game of football and we're now sat here recording the podcast saying we're out the cup is unbelievable.
It don't feel right.
No, well,
I'm not sure.
So just to sort of wrap up this sort of mini episode then, how do we sort of bounce back from this and take this into Fulham on Saturday?
I think he's got to play the strongest team that he most possibly can. I'm not saying he wouldn't have anyway, because obviously that's a given, because we need something out of this game, I think, to get our season going. But I think he's got to go all out as well. If they're coming to us, go and show them what we can do at Portman Road. We've got to go for it.
Exactly. We need to it puts even more emphasis on getting a result, or getting something out of that game with Fulham. Now, that was already going to be there because, like I say, context is there with the 2 teams you play. But at the end of the day, you look at that league table, it doesn't matter who you play, you just see 0 points early doors. And the longer it stays that way, the more trouble it's going to be. And we can't use that excuse anymore. We weren't expected to win these games anyway. They're best teams in the country. We haven't got that for a while now. And this is really taken a bashing to the confidence of a lot of people, including us, I think, heading into that game.
Yeah, but I think it has.
Yeah, so if real emphasis to go and get something from that game now, I think, and hopefully this sort of, if it acts as an extra motivation to bounce back. Well, we thought it might be the confidence builder, but perhaps the opposite result might end up having the same effect going into Saturday. But that will wrap it up. Mate. So, little mini episode today. We had our main episode today. Obviously, we've jumped on here. We were hoping to celebrate and bring you the draw for the cup and see how far can we go. But unfortunately, Ipswich Town have exited the Carabao Cup in the second round. 4-2 defeat to AFC Wimbledon on penalties. And attention now turns fully back to the Premier League with Fulham on Saturday. And we'll be back tomorrow morning where you can find James and Tom hosted the lads from Daily Fulham for Crossover Thursday. So we look forward for that one. Coming with you first thing tomorrow morning, as usual. That is it for this mini episode. So thank you, James, for jumping on with me today and sort of venting our frustrations together.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's good to see you, though, mate. Lovely stuff.
Yeah, it's nice to share an episode again. It's like I say, I feel like it's been a while, even if it was just a little sort of 15-minute episode to this one tonight. So full-length episodes come back tomorrow with Crossover Thursday. But for now, from me and James, thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.